On a warm summer night in 1977, while the rest of the world slept, a massive ear made of steel and wire was listening to the stars. It was the Big Ear Radio Telescope at Ohio State University. It wasn't looking for images. It was listening for a whisper, a pattern, anything that proved we aren't completely alone in this terrifyingly vast void. For days, months, and years, it heard nothing but the chaotic, meaningless static of the background universe. Until 10:16 p.m. When astronomer Jerry Eman walked into the lab days later to review the computer printouts, his eyes stopped on a sequence of 6 characters that would change his life and modern science forever. 6. E. Q. U. J. 5. Eman gasped, grabbed a red pen, circled the sequence, and wrote a single word in the margin.
It's the wow signal.
Wow. To the untrained eye, those letters and numbers look like a random software glitch. But to a physicist, they represent an absolute explosion of energy. The Big Ear computer didn't measure sounds. It measured signal intensity on a scale from 1 to 9. When the intensity surpassed 9, it started using letters from A to Z. 6 was just the beginning, a minor spike. But then came E, then Q, and then it hit U. U was an astronomical level of power. It meant the signal was 31 times louder than the ambient noise of deep space. It peaked perfectly and then, cleanly symmetric, faded backward through J and 5, melting back into the cosmic static. But the data got stranger. The signal lasted exactly 72 seconds, not a second more, not a second less. Why is that number crucial? Because the Big Ear telescope was completely fixed to the ground. It couldn't turn. It relied entirely on the rotation of the Earth to sweep across the sky. Because of the planet's speed, it took exactly 72 seconds for a fixed point in deep space to pass through the telescope's field of view. If the signal was coming from a terrestrial radio tower or an earthbound broadcast, it would have lingered. If it was a moving satellite, it would have dragged across the data. Instead, it behaved exactly like a laser beam aimed from a single, unmoving point in the stars. It came from the direction of Sagittarius, a place teeming with stars, a place teeming with possibilities. Naturally, scientists didn't immediately jump to aliens. True science demands skepticism. For nearly half a century, the brightest minds on Earth have tried everything to prove the wow signal was a mistake. First, they checked for human interference. Was it a top-secret military satellite? A classified broadcast bouncing off space debris? The physics says no. The signal was recorded at exactly 1420 megahertz. In astrophysics, this is known as the hydrogen line. It is the resonant frequency of neutral hydrogen, the most common element in existence. Because this frequency is so vital for studying the universe, it is globally protected. By international law, it is completely illegal for any human transmitter, military or civilian, to broadcast on this channel. It was the quietest station on the cosmic radio dial. Whoever sent that signal knew that if anyone was listening to the cosmos, this is exactly where they would be tuning in. Decades later, in 2017, a new theory emerged that threatened to debunk the mystery entirely. A scientist suggested that two passing comets, entirely unknown back in 1977, had released a massive cloud of hydrogen gas that temporarily fooled the telescope. The media went wild. Headlines claimed the mystery was solved. But the scientific community quickly tore the comet theory apart. Comets don't move fast enough to vanish from a specific point in space within minutes. More importantly, the Big Ear telescope had two feed horns looking at the exact same spot in the sky, spaced just a few minutes apart. The signal hit the first horn perfectly, but when the second horn passed over the exact same spot just moments later, there was nothing. The comets were still there. The signal was gone.
Let's talk about why the hydrogen line matters on a profound philosophical level. Astronomers call the radio frequencies around 1420 megahertz the water hole. It's a poetic term. Just like species on Earth gather around a physical water hole in the wild to survive and interact, scientists believe intelligent civilizations would gather around this specific frequency to shout across the interstellar dark. It is the universal language of physics. If an advanced intelligence wanted to say, "We are here," they would use the water hole. And that is exactly where the wow signal spoke. But this leaves us with the most terrifying question of all. If it was them, why only once? Why did they never call back? This is what we think when we look at the data. We often imagine an alien communication as a direct phone call, a sustained conversation. But space is unimaginably vast, and the energy required to broadcast a signal that powerful in all directions simultaneously would require the power of an entire star. Instead, think of a cosmic lighthouse. Somewhere in the constellation of Sagittarius, thousands of light years away, an ancient civilization may have built a hyper-powerful beacon. They aren't aiming at Earth. They don't even know we are here. The beacon is simply spinning through the blackness of the galaxy, sweeping its beam across the void for millions of years. On August 15th, 1977, the beam swept across a tiny, insignificant blue planet called Earth. For 72 seconds, our technology aligned perfectly with their light. We caught a glimpse of their existence. And then, the beam kept moving, sweeping back out into the lonely dark, perhaps not to cross our path again for another 10,000 years. Or maybe it was something far more melancholic. Maybe it wasn't a beacon. Maybe it was a cosmic distress flare, the last desperate gasp of a dying civilization, washing over an empty field in Ohio long after their world had turned to ash. We listened to that exact patch of sky thousands of times after that night. We heard nothing but silence. The wow signal remains the closest humanity has ever come to touching the extraordinary. But until it speaks again, we are left standing at the edge of the ocean, wondering who yelled into the dark. What do you think? Was it a cosmic lighthouse, a natural phenomenon we still don't understand, or a genuine hello from the deep? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. This is Cosmos Vox. Keep looking up.